Welcome to African American History Lesson 56. In this video, we will discuss discrimination, segregation, and the origins of the civil rights movement. How long can a nation survive when it promises equality under law but delivers injustice by design? For African Americans in the early 20th century, the daily realities of segregation, disenfranchisement, and racial violence revealed that the fight for freedom would require not just patience but organized resistance. Despite constitutional amendments and promises of liberty after the Civil War, African Americans in the first half of the 20th century continued to face deeply entrenched forms of racial segregation and discrimination, from unequal schools and segregated public facilities to voter suppression and mob violence. The system of Jim Crow reinforced white supremacy in both law and custom. These injustices set the stage for the modern civil rights movement, which began to take organized form well before the 1950s. A pivotal turning point came in 1954 when the U.S. Supreme Court issued its decision in Brown versus Board of Education, declaring that segregation in public schools violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The decision challenged the legal foundation of separate but equal and sparked nationwide resistance, organizing, and eventual federal intervention. This topic explores the daily realities of segregation, the legal strategy to dismantle it, and the powerful responses, both for and against, school integration in the post-Brown era. Through the mid-20th century, African Americans faced pervasive racial segregation and discrimination in virtually every area of life, regardless of whether they lived in the South under Jim Crow laws or in the North under more subtle, yet equally damaging, forms of racial exclusion. Segregated schools, public transportation, restaurants, theaters, hospitals, and neighborhoods were enforced by custom, legislation, and violence. African Americans were denied access to quality housing through redlining, blocked from the ballot box by literacy tests and poll taxes, and threatened by mob violence when they resisted. In this context, the civil rights movement emerged not simply as a reaction to legal injustice, but as a response to generations of social, political, and economic oppression that violated the very rights guaranteed by the Reconstruction Amendments and the Civil Rights Act of 1875. In 1954, the Supreme Court issued its landmark decision in Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, ruling that racial segregation in public schools was unconstitutional. The court found that segregation violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, effectively overturning the precedent of Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, which had legitimized separate but equal policies for more than half a century. Brown was the product of years of strategic litigation by the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, led by Thurgood Marshall and other civil rights attorneys, who gathered evidence to show that separate facilities were inherently unequal and psychologically damaging to black children. A significant factor in the Supreme Court's landmark decision in Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka was the citation of psychological research conducted by Drs. Mamie and Kenneth, known as the doll test. Their studies revealed that many black children, when presented with white and black dolls, often assigned positive attributes to the white dolls and negative ones to the black dolls. This research demonstrated the psychological harm caused by segregation and supported the argument that separate educational environments undermine children's self-worth. The court's recognition of this evidence shifted the legal discourse from physical inequality to the deeper, lasting impacts on human dignity and emotional development. Photographed in Harlem in 1947 by renowned photojournalist Gordon Parks, Clark Doll Test Harlem captures a moment from the Clark's research, a young African-American boy choosing between dolls. With quiet power, the image visualized the internalized effects of systemic racism. Gordon Parks' photograph transforms the study's findings into a deeply human portrait, reinforcing the moral urgency of dismantling segregation. Although Brown versus Board of Education was a legal victory, it did not bring immediate or uniform change. In many parts of the South, and even in some cities in the North, white officials and citizens resisted integration through tactics ranging from legal obstruction to outright violence. Some states diverted funds away from public schools that attempted to integrate, while others subsidized all-white private academies. White flight to the suburbs and the creation of exclusionary zoning laws ensured that many African American children remained in underfunded segregated schools. In the most extreme cases, entire school systems were shut down to avoid compliance with federal desegregation orders, and police forces were used to intimidate or block black students from entering new integrated schools. Despite hostility and danger, Black students across the South and beyond became frontline participants in the struggle to integrate American schools. One of the most iconic examples is the Little Rock Nine, 9 African-American teenagers who, in 1957, integrated Little Rock Central High School in Arkansas under the protection of federal troops, ordered in by President Dwight D. Eisenhower. Their bravery inspired national attention and global scrutiny, placing the fight for civil rights within the moral spotlight of the Cold War era. These students, and countless others whose names may never be widely known, faced harassment, physical threats, and isolation to claim their constitutional right to equal education. The persistence of segregation and systemic discrimination in the early 20th century exposed the deep contradictions at the heart of American democracy. For African Americans, daily encounters with inequality in schools, public spaces, housing, and the justice system fueled a growing demand for civil rights rooted in both legal challenge and grassroots resistance. The Brown versus Board of Education decision marked a decisive break with the legal precedent of separate but equal, affirming the dignity and humanity of Black children and families. Yet the path to integration was met with fierce resistance. This revealed that the end of legal segregation was only the beginning of a broader fight for equity and inclusion. This period laid the moral and legal foundations of the modern civil rights movement, where African Americans, through courage, intellect, and activism, refused to accept a nation that denied them full citizenship. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also, please follow us on the social media platforms listed on the screen.